Another relationship had come to an end, leaving Jenna disillusioned and with her faith in true love shaken. On yet another ordinary workday as a nurse in a senior care clinic, she hears the story of a man that leaves her completely shocked. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Nurse Jenna arrived at the nursing home that morning with a heavy heart. The sky was clear and the air fresh, but she couldn't appreciate the beauty of the day. The previous night had been difficult. Another relationship had ended, leaving her with a bitter feeling and the certainty that true love was just a fairy tale illusion. As she walked through the well-kept garden towards the entrance of the nursing home, Jenna observed the colourful flowers and the birds singing cheerfully. Everything seemed so serene and full of life, in contrast to the whirlwind of emotions inside her. She sighed deeply, trying to push away the negative thoughts. After all, she had an important job to do. The nursing home was a welcoming place with soft-toned walls and large windows that let in plenty of natural light. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, mixed with the gentle aroma of cleaning products. Jenna greeted her colleagues with a forced smile as she headed to the locker room to change clothes. Dressed in her pristine white uniform, Jenna began her daily routine. She checked medical records, distributed medications, and helped some residents with their basic needs. Despite her personal sadness, she strove to be kind and attentive to each elderly resident. The work as a nurse demanded this of her, and deep down, taking care of others always brought her some comfort. It was visiting day, and the nursing home soon came to life with the arrival of family members and volunteers who came to read to the elderly. Jenna watched with a pang of envy the displays of affection between the elderly and their loved ones. Would she ever experience such true and lasting love? Among the visitors, Jenna soon spotted a familiar figure, Vincent. He was an elderly man of about 80, with well-combed white hair and kind eyes behind gold-framed glasses. Vincent was not a resident of the home, but he appeared religiously on visiting days, always carrying a small brown-covered book. Jenna watched him walk calmly to a wooden bench under a large leafy tree in the garden. It was his favourite spot, where he usually sat to read stories aloud. Soon, Mrs. Aurora, one of the residents, approached him. Aurora was a 73-year-old lady with wavy grey hair and a gentle face marked by time. She suffered from Alzheimer's, a neurodegenerative disease that affected her memory and cognition. Driven by curiosity and the desire to escape her own thoughts for a while, Jenna decided to join them. She approached the bench and asked politely, "Good morning, Mr. Vincent and Mrs. Aurora. May I join you this morning? I would love to hear the story Mr. Vincent has to tell today." Aurora looked at Jenna with a confused expression, her eyes wandering unfocused for a moment, before returning to the emptiness in front of her. Alzheimer's often left her lost in her own thoughts, disconnected from the present. Jenna felt a pang of sadness seeing the confusion on the elderly woman's face. Vincent, on the other hand, opened a warm smile and replied, "Of course, Jenna, you are always welcome to join us." Jenna sat down on the bench next to Aurora, while Vincent opened his small book. The elderly man cleared his throat softly and began to read with a clear and melodious voice. Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by hills, there were two young people whose hearts beat in the same rhythm, although their families marched in opposite directions. As Vincent read, Jenna found herself transported to a world of forbidden love and unwavering courage. The story spoke of two young lovers whose families were fierce rivals in the business world. Since childhood, they had been taught to distrust and compete with each other. But fate had other plans. The young couple met by chance at a city festival, unaware of the rivalry between their families. It was love at first sight, a connection so deep and instant that neither of them could deny it. They spent the entire night talking, laughing and dancing, feeling as if they had known each other their whole lives. When they discovered the truth about their origins, the initial shock gave way to a fierce determination. They knew their love was real and worth fighting for, no matter the cost. For months, they met in secret, their feelings growing stronger with each stolen moment. Vincent described the couple's clandestine meetings in vivid detail, the picnics by the lakeside, hidden by a dense forest, the love letters exchanged in secrecy, the emotionally charged glances during city events when they had to feign indifference towards each other. Tension mounted as their families began to suspect. Pressured to choose between love and their family legacy, Elena and Marco made the most difficult decision of their lives: to leave everything they knew behind to be together. In the dead of night, Vincent read, his voice laden with emotion, the young ones left behind their lives of privilege. With only a few clothes and the savings they had secretly kept, they set off in search of a new beginning where they could live their love freely. Jenna was completely engrossed in the story. She could feel the fear and excitement of the young lovers as they fled, leaving behind everything they knew. She imagined the weight of that decision and the courage needed to move forward, trusting only in the love they felt for each other. Vincent continued narrating the couple's journey. They travelled for days, sleeping in modest inns and doing occasional jobs to survive. Finally, they arrived in a small coastal town where they decided to rebuild their lives. The first years were tough. The couple worked in humble jobs, she as a waitress, he as a helper in a mechanic's shop. They lived in a small rented apartment, but they were happy. Each hardship faced together only strengthened their bond. Over time, they managed to save enough to open a small cafe. The business grew slowly, becoming a beloved meeting spot for the local community. Elena and Marco married in a simple beach ceremony, surrounded by new friends who had become their chosen family. Years passed, and the couple was blessed with children. First a girl, then a boy. They raised their children with love and strong values, teaching them the importance of honesty, hard work, and, above all, true love. The couple never became as rich as their families of origin, Vincent read, his voice soft and full of emotion. But their lives were richly filled with love, laughter, and precious moments. They grew old side by side, hands intertwined, hearts still beating in the same rhythm after so many years. When Vincent finished reading the story, Jenna noticed she had tears in her eyes. She looked at Aurora and saw that the elderly woman was also silently crying. "What a beautiful story," Aurora finally said with a choked voice. "I would love to experience something like that. It's a shame they only happen in romance novels." She slowly stood up and began to walk towards a small nearby rose garden. "You have lived it, my love," Vincent whispered, so softly that Jenna could barely hear. He let out a deep sigh as he watched Aurora walk away. Jenna felt her heart tighten. She knew the truth behind that scene that repeated with each visit. Vincent wasn't just a volunteer. He was Aurora's husband, the love of her life. The story he had just read was their story. "Mr. Vincent," Jenna began hesitantly, "how do you bear coming here time and again, reading your love story to Aurora, and she does not recognize you? Have you never thought of simply giving up?" Vincent turned to Jenna, his blue eyes shining with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Oh, Jenna," he replied with a gentle smile. "True love is not an unmeasured and fleeting emotion, but a constant and permanent decision. It is eternal." He paused, looking again at Aurora, who was now examining the roses with a distant gaze. "Aurora doesn't remember that she loved me, but every time I tell her our story, she gets emotional and desires it for herself. That is enough for me. Knowing that she loves the possibility of having what she has already experienced is sufficient. My love for her does not depend on her love for me." Jenna felt a lump in her throat. Vincent's words struck her deeply, making her rethink everything she believed about love. "But doesn't it hurt?" she asked in a low voice. Vincent smiled tenderly. "Of course it hurts, my dear, every day. But the pain of not being with her, of not being able to share these moments, no matter how imperfect they are, would be much greater. True love is not about receiving, it's about giving. It's about choosing the other person every day, no matter how hard it is." He picked up the book and gently caressed it. This book contains our story. I wrote it when Aurora was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I knew that one day she might not remember our journey, so I wanted to preserve it in some way. Now I can share it with her repeatedly, seeing her eyes light up with the idea of such a deep love, even if she doesn't know she's the protagonist. Jenna was silent for a moment, absorbing Vincent's words. She looked at Aurora, who was now sitting on a bench near the roses, her face serene as she watched the flowers. Then she turned her gaze back to Vincent, noticing the love and devotion in his eyes as he watched his wife. Jenna, fascinated by the love story before her, asked, "And have you two ever regretted it?" Vincent shook his head, smiling. "Not for a second. We had tough times, of course. Starting from scratch isn't easy, but every challenge we faced together only strengthened our love. We built a wonderful life together, with our children and then grandchildren. And now, well, now we are living a new chapter." He looked at Aurora again. "It may not be the ending we imagined, but we are still together. And as long as I can come here and see your eyes sparkle with our story, I know that every moment was worth it." Jenna felt tears in her eyes again. The story of Vincent and Aurora touched her deeply. She realized she had been looking at love the wrong way all this time. "Mr. Vincent," she said softly, "thank you for sharing this with me. I think I had lost faith in love, but you have shown me that it truly exists." Vincent smiled gently at her. "True love isn't easy, Jenna. It takes work, commitment, and sometimes sacrifice. But when you find it, it can never be replaced. It's worth fighting for every day." At that moment, Aurora came back to them, smiling vaguely. "The roses are beautiful today," she said, without really looking at anyone in particular. Vincent stood up, offering her his arm. "They really are, my love. How about we take a walk to appreciate them better?" Aurora accepted his arm without hesitation, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As the couple slowly walked away, Jenna watched them, her heart full of a new understanding and hope. She realized that true love wasn't about perfect happy endings or overwhelming passions. It was about daily choices, about standing by someone even when things get tough. It was about giving without expecting anything in return, about finding joy in the small moments shared together. At the end of her shift, as Jenna was getting ready to leave, she saw Vincent saying goodbye to Aurora. He gently kissed her forehead and whispered something that made Aurora smile, even though she probably didn't fully understand the meaning. Jenna smiled to herself, feeling a wave of gratitude for having witnessed such a powerful demonstration of true love. She left the nursing home that night with a light heart and full of hope, ready to face the world with a new perspective on love and relationships. The lesson that Vincent and Aurora had unintentionally taught her would stay in her heart forever. True love is not easy, but it is the most valuable thing worth fighting for. Because when you find it, it truly becomes eternal, capable of overcoming even the most challenging barriers, like forgetfulness. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.